Good morning, everyone. My name's Norm Horofker, and I'm the proud minister of this congregation, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax, established in 1837. This is our annual in-gathering service, marking the first Sunday in a new church year. But this is hardly a return to a normal church year. This year, we begin with online services in the midst of a pandemic. This morning, we'll be celebrating the start of another church year with the virtual blending of water service. That's another first. And just as the waters come together to form one body, bound by the bowl that contains the water, so the congregation comes together, bound by our covenant. Today, we come back together and renew our covenant, that commitment we make to one another about how we will be together. I hope that our services and the other programs during the year will provide a refuge, comfort, and a source of inspiration in the midst of this pandemic. Jessica Friesen is our music director, Marie-Claude Leroux is our director of religious exploration, and John Piccolo is our volunteer director and technician for these services. During the service today, the chat function will be open, and I invite you to extend hospitality by saying hello to anyone that you don't recognize. If you're new or returning after a long absence, you may want to leave your contact information in the chat section. If you're not already receiving notifications from the church and you would like to receive updates on our activities and services, please send email to me, minister@uuch.ca. Now, before the service begins, I have a few announcements. The order of service for today was sent out on UU information yesterday, and it contains more detail on the following announcements. This actually wasn't in the announcements. I want to make a point now that it's sad that members and friends of our church have not had an opportunity to enjoy our building and our grounds this summer. We have a slide here that John will put up. It shows pictures of the planters on our back deck that Mike Belland had planted and tended over the summer. The deck never looked better. Thank you, Mike, for doing that. I invite you all to stay in touch. If you're feeling the need to speak to someone, please reach out to me or to Sylvia Mattinson of our caring committee. Also, we are carrying on a casual get-together via Zoom on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. That information is in the newsletter. If you need any help with that, give me a call and let me know. There will be a service celebrating the life of Allison Chapman on Tuesday, September 22nd at 2 p.m. in the sanctuary. We may need to limit the number of persons in attendance to comply with COVID-19 restrictions, but the service will be live streamed on Zoom and on YouTube. Details will follow shortly, and you may be required to let us know in advance that you plan to attend. The biggest initiative that I have planned for this year ahead is the Wellspring Adult Religious Exploration Program. It's a 10-month program of distinctly Unitarian Universalist spiritual development. Next Sunday's service, September 20th, I'll be explaining this program in detail. The program is a major commitment of time for those who are interested in exploring their spirituality in the context of our UU traditions. And you will be invited to become part of that group if you're interested. The initial group will be limited to 12 people. Saturday brunch has resumed, and if you'd like to help prepare sandwiches or pack lunch bags or help distribute them on Saturday morning, again, please contact me. Eleanor Reynolds is monitoring the service this morning. I saw her sign in. She's leading a Friends of 5500 gathering next Saturday. I think we're going to do it from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. to clean up the grounds of the building, and we have some small maintenance chores to take care of. So there will be an announcement going out later today or Monday on UU Info on that, but you can just show up at 10 a.m. on Saturday next week. Thank you. And now our Truth and Reconciliation acknowledgements. The Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax acknowledges that the first peoples to call this land sacred were the Mi'kmaq. We live and work on lands that are by law their unceded territories. As we gather, we pay respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, acknowledging our history of colonization and oppression. We're called to live humbly in right relationship with all of our neighbors. May the stories of the land on which we gather, stories of oppression and vulnerability, of pain and compassion, suffering and courage, shape how we now choose to stand together with each other. And now Jessica has our prelude. Thank you, Jessica. I know the cactus really enjoyed that. That might be an inside joke. And now, this morning, Kyla Saunier will read the words for our chalice lighting.
We light this chalice as a symbol of reunion. We reunite in the sanctuary to share the flow of our hearts with one another. We gather together in ritual to celebrate our fountains of joy, to hold each other through storms of grief, to guide one another through rapids of transformations, to rest together on ponds of stillness. May it be so. Back to Norm.
Thank you, Kyla. And now Marie Claude has a story for us, A Time for Children of All Ages. The story can be seen as a metaphor for what it takes to live together in community, and I ask you to listen closely.
Good morning. Today I'll be sharing with you the story of the Keeper of the Rain by Kristen Meyer. Not so very long ago, in a land not so very different from this one, lived the Keeper of the Rain. Each day, the Keeper of the Rain carefully watched the plants and creatures. When they began to droop with thirst, she whispered the words that brings the rain, and they stood tall again. Each day, the Keeper of the Rain carefully listened to the rivers and streams, and when they swelled to a roar, she whispered the word that sends the rain away, and they were quiet again. After many such days, more than you and I could count, the Keeper was weary. She was tired of always watching, always listening, always paying attention to other things and beings. A new keeper had been born, but he was just a boy. It would be years before he was ready to take over. I can't wait years, thought the keeper. She went to find the boy. She heard splashing coming from the pond. As she peered through the cattails, she saw the boy knee-deep in water. He bent over and plunged his hands to the bottom of the pond and stood up with an armload of muck and a wriggling crayfish. He is young, thought the keeper. But then again, so was I. She walked through the cattails and into the water. She bent over for a few minutes, whispered in the boy's ear. When she was done, she stood. She smiled for the first time in ages and walked away. The boy stood watching her for a while until the crayfish wriggled loose and plopped back into the pond. He bent over in search of the creature and forgot all about the keeper and what she had told him. The boy stayed, splashing and playing in the water until his lip turned blue and quivered, and then he tromped up through the sand and grass to the sun-warmed rocks. His favorite was low and flat and as ancient as the rain. The boy lay basking in the sun, listening to the peeping frogs and telling the rock his stories. And the rock listened and laughed in that low, rumbling way of rocks. The next day, again, he stayed, splashing and playing until his lips turned blue and quivered, and then he tromped up through the sand and grass to the sun-warmed rocks. He lay basking in the sun, listening to the peeping frogs and telling the rock his stories. Then, all of a sudden, the sky turned dark. The wind rose up, and a cold, wet raindrop fell on his back. "I don't like rain," said the boy, as more raindrops fell. And then he remembered the keeper and what she had told him. He whispered the word that sends the rain away, and the raindrops stopped. The sun reappeared. The boy lay back down on his rock. Each day after that, the boy splashed and played in the pond until his lips turned blue and quivered. Then he tromped up through the sand and grass to the sun-warmed rocks. He lay basking in the sun, listening to the peeping frogs and telling his stories. And if raindrops came, he simply whispered them away. Many such days passed, and as the boy lay basking in the sun, the rock asked, "Have you noticed? The trees and plants are turning yellow." The boy sat up and looked. "I like the color yellow," he said. "They need rain," said the rock. "I don't like rain," said the boy. "I know," said the rock. Many more such days passed, and as the boy lay basking in the sun, the rock asked, "Have you noticed? The trees and plants are turning brown." The boy sat up and looked. "I like the color brown," he said. "They need rain," said the rock. "I don't like rain," said the boy. "I know," said the rock. Many more such days passed, and as the boy lay basking in the sun, the rock asked, "Have you noticed? You have to walk further to get to your pond." The boy sat up and looked. "Who moved my pond?" he said. "No one," said the rock. "It needs rain." The boy sat and listened for a moment. "It's too quiet. The frogs aren't peeping." "Frogs cannot live without rain," said the rock. "Nothing can." The boy felt a heaviness in his chest. He had no words to whisper it away. He felt the warm sun on his back, which felt so good, and the weight in his chest, which felt awful. Finally, he whispered the word that brings the rain. Cold, wet raindrops fell, and the boy shivered, but he let it rain, and rain and rain. And when the rivers and streams swelled to a roar, he whispered the word that sends the rain away. I don't like the rain, said the boy, but I love my pond. I know, said the rock. I know. The end.
Thank you, Marie-Claude. And now Jessica will lead us in the opening hymn, another thing on the theme of gathering together around water.
Shall we gather at the river? I remember a year ago I started coming to the church and I thought this was the neatest service ever. So I'm excited to play this. Please sing along, the slides will be up. Shall we gather at the river, where bright angel feet have trod, with its crystal tide forever flowing by the throne of God? Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. On the margin of the river, washing up in silver spray, we will walk and worship ever all the happy golden days. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Shall we gather at the river that flows by the throne of God? Let me hear you sing. Here we reach the shining river, lay we every burden down. Grace our spirit will deliver and provide a robe and crown. Everyone, ready? Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. One more verse, ready? Soon we'll reach the shining river, soon will our pilgrim see. Soon our happy hearts will quiver with the melody of peace. Everyone clap your hands. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Together at the river that flows by the throne of God. It's hard to play the music and clap at the same time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jessica, for the uplifting music. Part of our theological heritage, but not everybody's theological heritage. So we take this special time now to reflect on our joys and sorrows. It's a sacred time in our service. It's a time we set apart to honor the many sorrows and the many joys that you, the congregation, are living, and to acknowledge the mutual support of our community. Today, first I'll light one candle for all those who are here with us or in our thoughts who are struggling mentally, physically, financially, or emotionally. And I'll also light a candle for all the joys that are represented here this morning, the big joys that come along only infrequently, and the little joys that we are blessed with by every day, if we are able to see them. And I'll light a candle for the members and friends of our congregation who are shut in long-term care homes. Not very long ago, we were desperately worried about them contracting COVID-19. And now as this pandemic continues, we're more concerned about their mental health and their mental well-being. We now have a hope of being able to visit, although the exact procedures in most cases are being slowly implemented. So a candle for John Patterson and Marie Davis, and George Marenfeld and Arisha Cox and Ann Wood. May we visit in person before long. And now, a candle for all the victims of the wildfires that are burning in the Western United States. It's truly heartbreaking, undoubtedly the consequence, partially the consequence at least, of global warming. But we light a candle for those who are suffering in the face of those fires. And I want to light a candle this morning. I just received an email just before the service started, letting me know that Mr. David Petit had passed. He had been in hospice care just for a matter of days. Many of you who've been with the congregation for a long time will know David Petit. Was with the Unitarian Universalist Association and their organization that helped congregations to recruit and choose who their next ministers would be, and to help people who were studying for ministry through all the many hoops that they have to go through in the process. He was an amazing, a gentle, kind, intelligent man who will be greatly missed and who really did make a difference in the world, made a difference in my life. So a candle for David Petit. Each week, I invite anyone with a joy or a sorrow to share at this time, to relay their thoughts to me by email. I'd like to light a candle for the team led by Marilyn Chenier, a bit of a joy, who held a yard sale to benefit the church yesterday. It's not easy to host a yard sale in COVID time, and we're grateful for a very successful sale and the work of the many volunteers. And now I'd like to light a candle for C. Connor. C is with me here this morning, just the two of us here in the sanctuary. I light the candle in memory of her mother, Ann. I had the privilege of accompanying C and friends of her family to a graveside interment service for her mom held last week in New Glasgow. And I want to light a candle for Barbara Harsanyi and her family. I spoke with Barbara last weekend and she had just been discharged from hospital. She asked me to remember her and Rodney and her grandchildren. Later, when we stop the live stream on YouTube and before the coffee hour begins, I'll invite anyone else to share a joy or sorrow if they would like to do so. And now Jessica will lead us in the reflective hymn, another water-themed hymn, one that I don't think we have sung before.
Where gentle tides go rolling by along the salt sea strand, the quiet joys of humankind when love embraces all. Where roads and we together rise among the common ground, the mare and stallion, light and dark, have thunder in their sound. The rainbow sign, the blended blood, have my heart enthralled. The quiet joys of what we share, where love embraces all. But we have come to plow the tides, the old lies on the ground. I hear the fires in the field, they drive the stallions down. The roses bloom both light and dark, winds do seldom call. The running sands recall the time when love embraces all. When love embraces all.
Thank you, Jessica. May the joys and the sorrows, both those acknowledged here this morning and those held in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, weave us together in the interdependent fabric that is our community. And now I'd like to invite Margaret Galbraith to read a poem that invites us all to engage our gifts in building a better world.
It's entitled Rainmaker, You Could Be the Water. By the scent of water alone, the withered vine comes back to life, and thus, wherever the land is dry and hard, you could be the water. Or you could be the iron blade disking the earth open. Or you could be the canal, the mother ditch, carrying the water from the river to the fields to grow the flowers for the farmers. Or you could be the honest engineer, mapping the dams that must be taken down, and those dams which could remain to serve the venerable all, instead of only the very few. You could be the battered vessel for carrying the water by hand, or you could be the one who stores the water. You could be the one who protects the water, or the one who blesses it, or the one who pours it. Or you could be the tired ground that receives it. Or you could be the scorched seed that drinks it. Or you could be the vine, green growing over land in all your wild audacity.
Thank you, Margaret. This morning, we're celebrating the ritual of blending of waters. It's something we've done for years as we begin the new church year. This is the first time we're trying to do this online. It's an important ritual, and I'll have something to say about how it relates to our theme of renewal as well. Borrowing a phrase from one of my favorite hymns, we are a faith tradition that reveres the past, but trusts the dawning future more. The ingathering blending of waters is a relatively recent innovation. In 1980, two Unitarian Universalist women, Carolyn McDade and Lucille Shuck Longview, were asked to create a worship service for the Women in Religion Continental Convocation of Unitarian Universalists. As they shaped their service, McDade and Longview wanted to create a new ritual that spoke of our interconnectedness to one another, to the totality of life, and to our place in this planet. I quote here from their writing. Water is more than simply a metaphor. It is elemental and primary, calling forth feelings of awe and reverence, acknowledging that the ocean is considered by many as the place from which all life on our planet came. It is the womb of life, and that amniotic waters surround us prenatally. We now realize that this worship service was for us a new story of creation. We chose water as our symbol of our empowerment. Here ends the quote. Since that time, since 1980, this service has been adapted and modified by congregations around the world. And today I'm presenting it as a symbol of our reuniting after a very strange summer. The water that we will pour into our common bowl represents the contribution that each of us makes to our life together in religious community. Margaret's reading reminded us that we each may have a different contribution, but we all have a contribution. And then each year at the end of the service, we filter and boil the water to store it carefully. I keep it in a mason jar. And I can thank the memory of Elizabeth Greenhaven, who started this tradition for me of saving some water every year to carry over to the next year's service. And then at the beginning of the service, I'll take a little bit of this water, accumulated and mingled over the years, to begin the service. And I'd like to do that now. I poured that water into a pitcher, would make it easier to pour. So here's water from many in-gathering services. If we were together in one room, I would invite everybody present to come forward now and add some water that you had brought with you. Add it to our common bowl. But today, instead, I have some very special water here in a pitcher, and I can assure you that it has the power to transmogrify into water from any source that you might have in mind. As a test of that power, I'm going to stretch the limits of credibility with the first edition of water that I'm bringing to the service. See, some of us, the nerds amongst us, are fascinated by the search for life elsewhere in the universe. And our human explorers have recently confirmed the existence of free-flowing water on Mars, on the surface of Mars. And so, this morning, I'm going to add some water from Mars, representing the essential role that water plays in life as we know it, and will know it, I'm confident, throughout the universe. Water from distant parts of the universe. So now in a moment, it'll be your turn. Before we proceed, please be aware that we're live streaming this service on YouTube. In order to make this work, John will need to go to the gallery view. And when we do that, everyone on Zoom who has their camera on will be visible on YouTube. I don't think that should be a problem for most of us, but for anyone who is uncomfortable with that idea, please turn your camera off now until we complete this portion of the service. You can still participate without the camera. So as we do our Zoom services, there are things that John and I and Jessica and Marie-Claude have been learning about how to do services, and you've been witness to some of our learning when it hasn't been as smooth as we would hope. But each of you has to learn as well. So this morning, here's a little lesson for you. The lesson is how to raise your hand, your virtual hand, so that you can be recognized easily by John and allowed to speak. You do that by moving your cursor to the bottom of your screen, clicking where it says participants. Then you'll be able to see a list of participants, and at the bottom of that list, there'll be some symbols, including a blue hand. If you click on that symbol of a blue hand, you'll be raising your virtual hand, and John will be able to recognize you, and then you can unmute yourself and tell us where the water that you would like to bring to the service comes from. Okay, we're going to give this a try.
I want to put some water from my very excellent well, the quality of which is outstanding and the quantity as well. That allowed me to share water with my neighbor who lost his well most of the summer.
Hi, I've been by water all summer, Brule Point, the Bay of Fundy, Lake Bannock, Taylor's Head Beach, but I'd like the water that is blended to be from my garden hose because it has done a really good job of growing tomatoes and flowers for me that we grew from seed during the pandemic. So a lot of different water, but all good.
Thank you, Pam. This water's for Pam. Thank you.
My water comes from the three places that represent, I guess, gratefulness to me this summer for things I was finally able to do. My water comes from the Bay of Fundy because I was finally able to go visit family there. My water comes from the Paulet River. I sold a house during a pandemic. And it also comes from Pictou Harbor because I was able to go to a concert at the DeCoste Center. So my water is gratefulness this summer.
Thank you, Pam.
Hello, my water is from BC. I happened to move here this summer from BC and am enjoying the Maritimes very much. This is my new home. So this is some water from BC and I'm happy to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I am sorry don't bring any water and I don't have any water because the water that was important for me this pandemic has been virtual water. I was singing with a choir in England and our conductor kept telling us to hydrate ourselves all the time. So every time we stopped a little bit, he put water in his mouth. So I have a very good memory of the water that he was drinking and telling us to drink. So I guess I drank lots of water from my tap too.
Thank you, Vitska.
It's virtual, okay? Virtual.
This is magic water. It covers virtual as well.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My water comes from a blessing ceremony that I did with a drumming circle, and I keep it in a little vial. I have a couple of these vials, and this vial sits on my altar, and when I attend to my altar, I bless myself with some of this water. So I'm sending the energies, the good energies to you, Nam.
Thank you. I can feel it coming in. Thank you, Kate.
Hello, it's Kira, and I have some good old-fashioned Halifax tap water here for the garden that we have been able to start on our balcony now that we've moved here. So with Donna, we have also moved here, and with Pam, we are also growing the garden. So cheers to everybody.
We take tap water for granted, and it is such a blessing. Thank you, Kara.
Also, I saw a message in chat from Heather who says, Eddie and I would like to add some water from the lake at Chubby Park in Dartmouth because we really like it there. It's nice to visit and we like seeing the ducks.
So this is for Heather and Eddie. From Chubby Park.
Hi, it's Amy, and my water comes from the back of my mother's home, the saltwater marsh, and I want to remember the 61 years of life that I had with her.
Thank you, Amy. Water from your mother's salt from the backyard, from the saltwater marsh, in memory of your mom and your time with her.
Thank you.
I bring a bit of virtual water from a place called Lake Rosso in Ontario, where my late brother and I enjoyed much renewal, and also water from, I believe, tap water from Hubli, which is how I understand now it's pronounced. As it turned out, when we moved here, I discovered that my best friend from childhood, who had been my next door neighbor in Toronto, had moved here 30 years ago, and we reconnected, and she left her bicycle water with me when we rode out to Hubbard's this past week. So that's my water. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Another of the ways that water connects us.
Well, this drop of water comes from Lake Massawippi in the eastern townships of Quebec, which is where I met Valerie. And the second anniversary of her death was just last Thursday.
Thank you, Colin. Water from the eastern townships and a memory of Valerie. Hey, thank you all very much. We've now completed the online blending of waters ritual, making some kind of history in the process. I thank you for doing that. Our theme for the month of September is renewal. And it's easy to link that theme to our ingathering and blending of waters as we renew our life together as a congregation. You may have noticed that I selected an image each month that I think captures the essence of the theme. And this month, it's the dandelion scattering its seeds to the wind. The magnificent dandelion flower turns to seed and renews itself in the process. Now I'm going to take a little bit of liberty as your minister to boast the fact that I'm a new grandfather with a second grandchild a month away. When you become a grandfather, you become profoundly aware of the process of renewal, out with the old and in with the new. That, of course, is me and my new granddaughter, Millie Louise Preston. And to me, that's such an amazing symbol of renewal. Just look at those bright eyes, that so much energy, and the gray hair and wrinkles on the other side. This is a very personal reminder that we're all destined to make way for the new. We will each individually perish, but if we're lucky, and if we build our connections to the world around us, something of ourselves will survive and flourish in this world. I think about this congregation in those terms. The congregation is a wonderful gift, has a wonderful gift to give to the community, our long and hard-won tradition of liberal religious freedom, our commitment to social justice and to giving meaning to our lives, in a community that actively supports a diversity of beliefs, supporting one another on our journey. But we must not allow ourselves to stagnate. Our message is too important to be allowed to languish. We must continually renew our commitment, and we must continually look for new ways to live our commitment. We must breathe life into the covenant that binds us. We're a congregation not bound by common beliefs. We're a congregation bound by our covenant. The commitment we make to one another to live and to work together despite the inevitable friction that occurs between human beings. This morning, I invite the congregation to renew our covenant. There's your renewal notice. The covenant is an agreement of how we will be with each other. It's the basis for a relationship, and relationship is the basis for being human. Here are two quotes, words by the Indian philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti. Relationship surely is the mirror in which you discover yourself. Without relationship, you are not. To be is to be related. To be related is existence, and you exist only in relationship, otherwise you do not exist. It is not because you think that you are that you come into existence. You exist because you are related. And here I might add, related to other people, related to the environment around you, related to life. You exist because you are related, and it's the lack of understanding of relationship that causes conflict. In the year ahead, I hope we'll remember this. Action has meaning only in relationship, and without understanding relationship, action on any level will breed conflict. The understanding of relationship is infinitely more important than the search for any plan of action. Unitarian Universalism asks a lot of its followers, but it does not coerce. The extent to which you engage with the tradition is a matter of personal choice. As a member of this congregation, all we insist is that you treat others with respect as they engage with their own spiritual journey. So here again is our covenant, and I ask the members of the congregation to lead it aloud with me if you're comfortable doing so from the location that you're in. If not, you may repeat the words silently. Our covenant. Compassion is the doctrine of our church, the quest for truth, its sacrament, and justice, its prayer. To grow in understanding through dialogue and freedom, to support each other's dance with life, to engage the earth in peace, to the end that we speak ourselves into community and hear each other into being. Thus do we covenant with each other and with the universe. May it be so. Amen. And now, we have a special musical contribution for the interlude this morning, and I would like Jessica to introduce it, please.
So I'm very excited to introduce my sister, Elena Friesen, and Josh Reimer, a good friend of mine. They've been doing videos and services from my home church, Morden Alliance Church from Manitoba. So a song that is always resonated with my family is Down to the River to Pray. And we've always sung this together. And this is the piece they'll be presenting for us. It's a video and it has the words at the bottom. So please sing along if you know it. And please enjoy.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, brothers, let's go down, come on down. Come on, brothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, fathers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, fathers, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down. Come on down. Don't you want to go down? Come on, mothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sinners, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sinners, let's go down, down in the river to pray.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way.
Thank you, Jessica, for sharing that with us, and please thank your sister for making that available for us. In this trying time, your generous donations to our Saturday brunch and the Minister's Discretionary Fund have been amazing. Those two funds are doing well. However, it seems likely that our total income for the year will be down, as both fundraising events and occasional space rentals are less likely. It's also possible that some people will be unable to meet their pledges due to the financial ramifications of COVID-19. So even though some expenses will be down, we may face a deficit. If you'd like to assist with this, please consider increasing your monthly pledge or occasionally making an unpledged donation by e-transfer to treasurer@uuch.ca. If you prefer to do this by check, you can send the check to the church address. This message with gratitude from your board of directors. And now, as we come to the end of the service, having been duly gathered for a new year, we prepare to go forth into the world inspired by our UU faith to fulfill our destiny. Over to you, Jessica.
So let's sing our closing hymn. I want you to get excited. I want to see your energy. I wish I could hear your energy. So let's do Come and Go With Me. Come on, ready? Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom, ready? There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. Come on. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm from. I see you all. Okay, we're gonna do justice. There'll be justice. There'll be justice in our land. There'll be justice in our land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. Okay, singing, ready? They'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing be singing in the land where I'm
I hope you can all sustain that enthusiasm for the land that we're bound to in the months ahead, despite the things we have to put up with the virus. So now I invite Tristan Saunier to read the words extinguishing our chalice. And after he reads the words, I will extinguish the chalice here in the sanctuary.
Yeah, it is. Go forth, but return to this community, where rivers of tears may be shed, where dry souls are watered, where your joy bubbles, where your life cup overflows, where deep in your spirit you have found in this place of home. Amen. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Tristan. And now I'll extinguish the chalice. And I'll leave the candles that we lit during joys and sorrows burning. So once again, I extinguish the chalice here in the sanctuary, looking forward to the day that we can be together again in body as well as in spirit. Thank you to all who attended the service today by Zoom or by YouTube. I'll say goodbye to those who joined us by YouTube now as we end our live streaming. I hope you will take inspiration from today's service into the weeks ahead. Thank you for coming.